So I just got back from the gym and I was watching a video today that I thought was really interesting, and it was from another content creator here on the YouTube. She's pretty popular in the GLP-1 niche. I'm not gonna say the name of the channel just because that's not really the point of this video, and this is absolutely zero shade to her. I like a lot of her videos. I think she's great. This is nothing against her, but she brought up a topic that I just found really interesting and wanted to kind of give my 2 cents just while it's fresh on my mind. So basically in the video she talked about how and I believe she's already gotten to her goal weight. I believe she's in maintenance, but she's been on a GLP-1, and she was talking about how she personally does not track her calories, and she basically was just talking about how she feels like the whole point of being on a GLP-1 is to basically allow the GLP-1 to do all the work for you as far as losing weight, and she feels like people shouldn't have to track their calories while being on a GLP-1 to lose weight, because tracking calories is restrictive and is basically just a form of like diet culture and stuff like that. Personally, I myself have been on a GLP-1 for it'll be 2 years in January, and I have been on a calorie deficit, like actively tracking my calories for the entirety of my journey. I'm down 150 pounds. I can say for myself personally that at over 340 pounds, I did not have a good enough relationship with food that not tracking my calories would have been a sustainable way for me to lose weight, even while being on a GLP-1. I don't know, I feel like a person doesn't get overweight or obese, or certainly over 300 pounds to begin with, if they intuitively know how to eat. People who get as big as I did obviously have issues with intuition when it comes to eating, and like my intuition at that point in time was telling me that I wanted to eat excessive amounts of food basically, and if I had listened to that, I would have never lost any weight. For some people, it just honestly, you do have to kind of learn how to eat in a way that you can be in a deficit, and I feel like sometimes the only way to truly know and learn how to do that is by paying attention to what you're eating and actually keeping track of it. You know, some people say they can keep track of calories in their head, and that's all fine and good. I mean, I guess if you've been doing it for a while, I could see that. I myself eat honestly a lot of the same foods most days, so it is pretty easy for me to kind of know what I can have throughout the day and still be in my calories, but at the same time I still track just so I can be sure. I feel like for people who have a significant amount of weight to lose, like 100, 200 pounds, it does take some strategy and just being able to kind of have a long-term plan with how you go about losing your weight. I feel like if you just take a GLP-1 and don't do anything else, you don't work out, you don't track calories, and you just rely solely on the medication to kind of take the food noise away and to naturally cure your eating habits that have led you to become obese or morbidly obese, it may work in the short term, like you might lose weight in the beginning, but I feel like in the long term, it will only honestly just prolong this process that's already going to be long, just because of the amount of weight you need to lose. Tracking my calories has given me the ability to, first of all, have an idea of how many calories my body can consume while still losing weight. And then when I've hit plateaus, which you will hit plateaus, obviously my body, I cannot consume the same amount of calories now and expect to lose weight as I did back when I first started at over 340 pounds. And I feel like that's something that you kind of have to keep in the back of your mind. You cut your calories too much too fast, you are setting yourself up for failure, because what is going to happen is your body will adjust to the amount of calories that you're eating. So if you're just starting out your weight loss journey at over 250 pounds, you want to lose 100 pounds, and you don't track your calories, you rely solely on a GLP-1 that suppresses your appetite to the point where you are only intuitively eating, say, 1,000 calories or around 1,000 calories a day, you will lose weight in the beginning and it will come off quickly, and that can be exciting. But what will end up eventually happening is your body will adjust your caloric needs. So your body will start to get used to eating 1,000 calories or less in a day, and it will get to a point where that becomes its new set point for calories to maintain your weight. And so then what will end up happening at some point in time, say you either come off the medication, or say just time goes by and the medication becomes less effective, which honestly, coming from my experience being on this medication for, you know, close to 2 years now, I can say that after the first 6 months, I did notice the medication has not been as effective as it was in the very beginning. That's not to say that it's not still effective, because it is, but it certainly is not like to the extent that it was when I first started. And that has been evidenced not just in the food noise and stuff like that, but also just in my actual weight loss rate. Like, it slowed down dramatically after about 6 months. And I believe there are studies that show that it is the most effective in the first 6 months of being on a GLP-1. But that being said, say you're somebody who is not tracking calories, you're solely relying on the medication to do the work for you. So you're eating 1,000 calories because that's what your body, you know, that's what your hunger cues are saying while being on a GLP-1 for the first 6 months. And then after that, the medication stops being as effective. You start to be a little bit hungrier, having a little bit less appetite suppression, so you start eating a little bit more. And what is going to end up happening is, by eating just a little bit more, not even overeating, not even like going crazy or anything, say you're just eating maybe 1,500 calories now, naturally, and you know, that's what your body is naturally wanting to eat at that point. That is adding 500 calories a day to what you've been eating for the past 6 months. That 500 calories a day equates to 3,500 calories a week, which, if you didn't know, 3,500 calories is the amount of calories that is in 1 pound of fat. So effectively, you will be setting yourself up to start gaining 1 pound a week just by eating 1,500 calories, because your body got used to eating 1,000 calories. I feel like you do honestly just have to kind of have a basic knowledge of how calories work and how fat loss actually happens. And I feel like we can't just ignore that part of the equation. I mean, I know that there are people on this earth who go their whole lives without struggling with their weight, and they don't think the same way that we do about food. But I feel like one thing we have to remember is that even on a GLP-1, obesity is a chronic disease, meaning long-term, it stays with you. So effectively, that means that once you are obese, once you are a person who gets to a point where you are considered obese, morbidly obese, even if you lose the weight on a GLP-1 medication, you effectively will still be battling obesity for the rest of your life. And you may need to be on a medication to help you manage said obesity. That being said, your body naturally is not the same as somebody who has never dealt with obesity. I don't feel like GLP-1s really cure obesity. I feel like they can help to manage obesity, just like they can help also manage diabetes. So like a person who is diabetic and has a high A1C, who then gets on a diabetes medication that lowers their A1C, that doesn't mean they've cured their diabetes, because they have to stay on the medication for the rest of their lives to manage the diabetes. Because if they come off the medication, it will come back. The A1C will go back up because it is a chronic condition. And so I think it's kind of in the same vein. Obesity is a chronic condition, and even if you are able to manage your weight long term, I feel like your brain still has that disease of obesity, and it's something you have to actively fight against for your whole life. And so I don't think it's fair to try to compare somebody who has a chronic condition of obesity to somebody who has never had obesity. Our brains just are not wired the same, and I don't think even being on a GLP-1 will make us the same as somebody who's never dealt with obesity. Anyways, like I said, this video is in no way throwing shade at any creator. I honestly just thought it was a really interesting topic of discussion, and I can definitely see where she's coming from. But I feel like, just coming from my own perspective as somebody who has utilized counting calories to lose my weight, I don't really see it as a restrictive diet culture thing. I feel like it's honestly, it's a tool, just like a GLP-1 is a tool. And personally, coming from a place of over 340 pounds, I needed tools in my toolbox to get me where I'm at, and I needed structure, and I still need the structure. I still need tools. So yeah, that is just kind of my take on it, though. I would be really curious to hear what your guys' take is on it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all in my next one.